what is your response to that picture? And what is your response to the wider scandal of the Epstein files?
Oh, well, that picture in particular happened around 20 years ago, 19, 20 to 21 years ago, because that is a photograph of my fiance who invited me to this event, and that's where the picture was taken. I had never been in contact with Jeffrey Epstein before that photo, and I was never in contact with him after. So that's a picture of me and my fiance at some event.
Wow. So who was the fiancé, if you don't mind me asking?
She doesn't want me sharing her name in the case, but that's my fiance, 100%. Was my fiance.
But you're not still. I'm not. I was going to say you're not still with that.
No. He's not engaged. Yeah. It's the world's longest engagement.
No,
20 years.
20 years ago, I was engaged to her when that photo was taken.
Overseas, and a US Department official says the latest Epstein file release may not result in further charges, but political opponents are asking what knowledge those mentioned had about the convicted pedophile's crimes.
The fallout continues after the latest release of Jeffrey Epstein documents. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche talked about the potential of more charges coming against any possible co-conspirators.
There's a lot of emails, there's a lot of photographs, there's a lot of horrible photographs that appear to be taken by Mr. Epstein or people around him. But that doesn't allow us necessarily to prosecute somebody. And that's what's important for the American people.
Still, some lawmakers say that's not enough.
I do think the prosecution needs to look at seriously bringing charges.
The Justice Department has recently released more than 3 million pages of materials related to the deceased convicted sex offender. The files reveal more of Epstein's communications with some prominent public figures, both in the U.S. and abroad, even after he served time for sex crimes.
The American people are asking, how are our rich and powerful people living in this country? What moral code are they living by? Some of those revelations are deeply disturbing.
While the Justice Department admits it has redacted a small amount of all the files to protect the victims, some are convinced there are more documents that should be released.
They've released, at best, half the documents, but even those shock the conscience of this country.
We have nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide. We never did. The entire world can look at now and see if we got it wrong.
All those named in the recently released files have denied having anything to do with Epstein's sexual abuse of girls and young women.
Donald Trump's Justice Department has just dumped the Epstein files, 3 million pages and 180,000 images from the investigation into the late pedophile billionaire Jeffrey Epstein, friend of presidents, royalty, tycoons and famous people all over the world. And this is just going to add to the disgust over how such a creep and a user, a man already convicted for soliciting sex from a 14-year-old, still had so many people at his beck and call, looking for maybe the young girls he pimped out, or the money he handed out, or the favours he might do. Now, top of the list of Andrew is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrews. This time filmed propped over a woman like a hungry dog, other photos of him pawing her. And then there's the British ambassador, Lord Peter Mandelson, snapped here in his underpants. Epstein gave Mandelson and his husband more than $100,000, although Mandelson says, oh, I don't quite remember that. Strange memory. Mandelson has now lost his job as ambassador and resigned from the Labour Party. And there's so much more. I mean, Microsoft founder Bill Gates, he was at the Australian Open Women's Final on Saturday. He was an Epstein crony. And Epstein claims Gates got a sexually transmitted disease from a Russian woman that Epstein supplied. Gates says it's all lies. Epstein's emails, in fact, mention Russian girls so often and boasts of his Russian contacts so often and his pool in Russia that there's now suspicions that he might have even been used by the Russians to blackmail influential people. But who knows? Joining me from London is Monday regular and Talk TV host Samara Gill. Samara, great to see you again. Look, obviously the latest photographs and emails starring Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, that's the biggest news from this information dump, certainly in Britain. More embarrassment for the king to have such a brother.
You know, you're completely right. I think it's interesting, though, because the king has had more or taken more accountability for Andrew's actions than Keir Starmer has for Lord Mandelson. You know, the king was very quick, in a way, to cut off Andrew as soon as everything came out, you know, this past year. Whereas Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, has not even removed the party whip from, from Mandelson. And Mandelson just resigned from the Labour Party last night. So it's interesting to see how the two characters are managing their acolytes. And I think the king is coming out on top, even though Andrew remains a massive problem for them. I mean, I was just sifting through some of the emails last night and some of the things that Fergie said to Epstein. I mean, they're genuinely like Tweedledee and Tweedledum when you read what they said. Oh, please marry me. You're my favorite. It's like they would do anything for a couple of $1,000, Andrew.
Oh, it is so grabby. I was so sick. And remember, this is a pedophile, a convicted pedophile. Even when they were trying to, wheedle favours out of him, they must have known. The British Prime Minister has now urged Andrew to give evidence in the US about his links to Epstein. Is that ever going to happen?
I think that with the Prime Minister's pressure, with potentially the King's pressure, who knows if that will happen, that he should. I mean, those images, as you said, are absolutely horrific. This is someone who is in line to the British throne. And the fact that he exploited for years, or allegedly exploited, many women. I mean, we talk about why don't other sort of victims come out? A lot of people say that because Virginia Giuffre is obviously the most high profile one. The reason is, yes, a lot of them were Eastern European Russians who couldn't speak English, who were vulnerable. Some of them were French as well. They preyed upon working class girls, many of them from very, very poor, underprivileged backgrounds, and totally exploited them. And Andrew should absolutely pay the highest price for what he did or didn't do.